welcome to September's So Fun. My name is Terry. I have several things to show you this month, and I'm going to start with the cookies and the little cookie cutter. It's of a featherweight cookie. I had ladies over to my house to make these cookies, and we all had this little mask on that says, perfect for COVID, stress spelled backwards is desserts. So they were a fun little cookie to make, fun to decorate. We have So Fun, Singer, there's a pfaff, there was a brother. We had several different ones. All right, I made these little H bags, they are called, and they're perfect. This is the mini size. There's two different sizes. These are perfect for your knitting to take with you when you go somewhere. You could always load it up with stuff to come to class with. The two different sizes both take a half a yard of fabric for the outside and for the lining. This one I used fusible batting in it and did it on the outside as well as the inside. On this one, to give it a little more stability because it was larger, I put fusible foam in it with the fusible batting on the inside. The ends are not, they just have interfacing in them. So they have nothing in them to keep them sturdy. It's just the sides. They suggest that you make a bottom and cover a piece of cardboard. I used foam board because I think it's a little stronger than the cardboard, and it gives a nice straight bottom to the bags so they don't bag on you as you're carrying them. So the handles of the bag are a 5/8 inch dowel. When I went to the store to get them, they were very big, I thought, but it makes a good handle to carry, and they're both the same size. They're 1 foot each, and they just slide into the little pockets. This is the mini size, and this is the maxi size. This is a pickle pie design. Everything is done in the hoop, and I made these cute little cork bags. They have nice blingy cork on them. I use solid fabric on the bottom to keep the bling in the cork showing and to not make it too much. These bags, the zippers are done in the hoop. The seams are all finished. There's no raw edges. And when you turn it, you can finish up the little hole with just some iron-on seam tape. The little wristlet here comes with hardware to take it off if you want to put it in your bag, or you can put it back on to carry with you. The reason I love Pickle Pie Designs is her instructions are so thorough, and the pictures show everything she's saying in the instructions. It tells you exactly how much fabric, tells you where to put your tape for your zipper and everything. Her printouts are just fantastic. We have the cork in a half a yard. It would make a small and a medium. It would make a large bag, or it would make the extra large. And we also have the hardware here for you to get. And again, these are Pickle Pie zippy cork bags. This project is called So Organized. The pattern comes with the little frame, the elastic for the pockets, and this little fat quarter gypsy tag that you sew in. It holds all your notions. It would help anybody be organized in their sewing room, and it would be great to just be able to pick this up, put it in your stuff, and go to class, and you wouldn't be missing anything when you got there. This only took a couple hours to stitch up, and the hardest part was picking the fabric. The next project is called the Slice Rug. It was fun to make. I have not made one of these before. It can use jelly rolls, but I bought fabric and used what was in my stash and just cut 2.5 inch pieces of fabric. I used this little jelly roll slasher, and what you do is you layer your 2.5 inch strip of fabric and your 2.5 inch strip of batting, and you just pull it through. And as you're doing that, it kind of creases the edges like you have ironed it. Then when you take it to your machine, you only have one more fold to do. So I just kept it on and I'd sew a bit, pull it, sew a bit, pull it. It made it a lot faster than the ones I did at the beginning without the jelly roll slasher. So you straight stitch each piece when you have it folded, and it leaves this little tiny pocket here. So then when you start zigzagging it together, you take the folded edge and put it into the little pocket and then just zigzag over it, and it makes it nice and secure. When you're all done, you have different sized pieces. I mean, they hang out here and here, and so then you have to cut it down. So they have a pattern that you lay on the top, you trace around it with a pencil, and I got these wonderful shears that we have available. I like them because I have big knuckles and they don't hurt and they cut really well. I use this on my rug and on the jacket I'll show you later. I really like those. And we also, besides the scissors, we also have this Bosel pre-cut batting, which is so nice. It saves you so much time not having to cut your own. And it just fits and slides through very easily. So again, this is the slice rug for your kitchen. The next project is from this book called Sweet Christmas Runners No. 2. It has 5 different runners that you can make quilted, and then it has 5 different runners that you can make putting in an applique. So this is the first runner I did. They're 12.5 inches wide. They're very long. They would make a nice little accent on your Christmas table. This one I thought might be a little busy when I finished it up, but I just stitched in the ditch and did a little bit of line work here on the edges of it. The other one I did some applique on, machine applique. I turned one candle one way, one the other, so when you put it on your table, whoever's sitting there can see the nice candle shapes. I did a little free motion quilting on this one in the background of the candles, and the rest of it was just line stitched. I brought in this fancy little third hand, it's called. This hooks onto your ironing board. You fold your binding fabric and bring it through, and all you have to do is pull with one hand and move the iron with the other hand, and it folds it perfectly for your binding. So this again is called the third hand. I brought in a free motion quilting book this month, which is a technique book. I love this book. It teaches you how to quilt the way I was taught to quilt, where you trace your designs you trace her designs, then you do it by yourself underneath, and brain-hand coordination. When you go to your machine, it helps you do it. Her book was very good. The first chapter gives you a list of the supplies you will need for free motion quilting, what each one of them do and why you would want it. One of the supplies were these free motion gloves, which I used, and they were really good. They're very lightweight, but they have the little pokey marks on the fingers that make it where you can move the fabric through. Throughout her book, she has little tips in red to help you know why you're doing what you're doing. One of her patterns that you could be tracing, for instance, this is her leaves, so you would start tracing on her design, and then you would finish filling the page up freehand by yourself. Then when you go to your sewing machine, you just move your fabric in the direction of what you were tracing and the direction of how your line would go. She has several easy patterns to work on, and at the back of the book she even has 2 projects to step you from piecing to quilting to binding the project. This would make an excellent book for anybody's sewing library. The next project is called Fabulous Fat Quarter Aprons. One of the things I really liked about this book is each apron comes with a pot holder that you can make to go with it. I thought it was a great gift idea. So the first one I did is this one right here, and it's called Mix and Match. So it took 4 fat quarters, and it took 1.5 yards of this ribbon. The instructions are so nice because there are no raw edge seams at all. Even when you gathered the waistband, they had you put seam binding on it, and then when you sewed it on, you just sewed it through the ribbon, and it's all finished. The seams are flat fill, the hem, everything is enclosed. There are absolutely no raw edges. The next one I did was called Patchwork, and in the book it showed that she had one color and did various tints of it. Well, I decided to make a Halloween one, and again, all the seams are closed. There are no raw edges, even on these little set on point squares. You folded the fabric in and pressed it, and then top stitched it onto the bottom of the already hemmed apron. So there's nothing, no seams at all. It just makes such of a nice finish. This is the pot holder that went with that one, and this is the pot holder that went with this one. So there's several different looks of aprons in this book. There's the one I did for the mix and match, and there's a reversible one in the back that has pockets on it. Everything reverses. The pockets are on the inside when you reverse it, as well as on the outside. So it just had a lot of good things, and everything's totally finished. There's no raw edges, so it makes it really nice and easy to wash and a great gift. This is the Sophia swing coat. It comes in sizes extra small to 3 extra large. I chose on the yoke to put a embroidery design from OESD that's called Whitework Petals. When I did that, I cut the yoke out. I stabilized it with the Ultra Dream Weave, and then I put it in the hoop with Heat and Stay, Floriani's Heat and Stay to secure it. I had no trouble stitching it out like that, and when you're all done, you just tear away that Heat and Stay, and it looks so nice. It doesn't have any raw edges or anything on it. It has a raglan sleeve, which is a nice way. You don't have to set a sleeve in. You just sew the seams and put a little dart here. The pocket, in fact, all of the inside of the jacket is finished with a serger, or if you don't have a serger, you can zigzag it to finish it off. The pocket, you just stitch in one piece on the seam here. Sew your seams up, fold the pocket toward the front, pin it, and then just top stitch around it. It lays nice and smooth with no bulk. The buttons, I covered a 1.5 inch button with this little design that I took into my software. I took it out of the back piece and put it in there. All right, I'm using Floriani software. The first thing you do is bring your design in. This is in Whitework, so it comes in white and you can't see it. You could make your background darker, but it's just much easier to come in and change the color of your thread to a darker one. While everything is still chosen, I will come up here and I will rotate the design. This is the way I'm going to sew it. Everything is still all chosen, so I'm going to come over to the design and right-click on it and convert to outlines. We are converting it to outlines because I don't bring my designs in that way to start with. because I've had a few problems. So if I want to separate a design after it's brought into the software, I will choose Convert to Outlines then. It will take and separate each part of the design into little stitches. Therefore, I can cut out the little flower that I want to use to make my buttonhole. So when this is finished with the separating the stitches and converting them all to outlines, I will be able to do that. All right, after I've made this design a little bit larger, I'm coming over here and getting the lasso. I am going to go around this design with the lasso and come back to the beginning here. I'm going to right click. Everything is chosen, so I am going to copy. I'm going to paste when I open up a new page because I want this design all by itself. So now I will paste it onto the new page. There is what you will save as a button cover, and you will stitch it out on your embroidery machine. I made the size medium, and I made the long sleeve, which isn't very long. So if you want your sleeve to be long, you'll have to add to it before you cut it out. I also used these scissors when I was cutting this out. This little band here comes in the packet, and that's what gives the scissors the spring. They're very nice and sharp, and they worked really well on this. The fabric I used was just a lightweight stretch denim. Again, this is the Sophia swing coat. This is True Sharp number 2 to sharpen your rotary blades. Comes with this little pair of tweezers so you can put the blade in there. You put 1 drop of oil on the sharpener. You close the lid, latch it. You hold it for 15 seconds, open it. You turn the blade over and repeat. Take the blade out and put it back in the cutter and take it over to see if we got rid of the nick that was in it. And speaking of rotary cutters, we have this nice little I Love Quilting rotary case, so you can put your rotary cutter right in the case and take it with you when you go to class. This is the Happy Holidays pattern by Amy Bradley Designs, and I did this one last year and taught it as a class at the shop. It's machine appliqued, it's not done in the embroidery hoop. Done with your sewing machine, you use the blanket stitch to attach all your fabric on there. You'll need to cut everything out yourself unless you have a scan and cut. And I will give a little more detail on this in a few minutes. This is the Hunt and Ghost pattern. It's also machine applique. When you order this pattern, you get this nice little hanger with it. It's included with the pattern. This is also appliqued with the same technique I did the other one with. I used the Steam 2 and put it on there, and then I applique it to the background with the blanket stitch. When I do machine applique, I use Steam 2 or another two-sided sticky fusible. It makes it so much easier when you're attaching the piece to the background, because if you get it in the wrong spot, you can just pick it up and move it and then put the next piece around it. It is not permanent until you iron it. I use serrated scissors to cut everything out because it gives it a nice smooth finish with no frays on the fabric. I always use a blanket stitch, or sometimes I'll use a small zigzag depending on if it's a really narrow spot. This one and this one were both done with the blanket stitch. except right here, I use the triple stretch stitch to put the letters on there. I always, when I'm finished, I do it on just my background. I do not put my batting behind it. So everything is sewn onto the background with decorative stitch. And I use Floriani thread to do that. I match all the colors with the Floriani thread. When I'm all done, then I layer it, make a sandwich for it. So I put the top and the batting and the back on there, and I pin it in place so it doesn't move. Then I use my favorite invisible thread. It's called Wonder Invisible Thread. This will be available for you to buy. It doesn't stretch or break or anything when you're working with it. It's really a great invisible thread. I go around every single piece of my design with the invisible thread through the batting and the backing, and it makes it kind of puff and pop. If you stitch it onto through all thicknesses when you're starting, it doesn't pop and poof up like this. So both of these have a little poof because that's what I do. I just straight stitch around it. After I've done that, sometimes I will do the background so it is very flat and you really notice the poof, or sometimes I will just stitch in the ditch and leave it plain like I did on this one. We have this, and we have Steam Seam 2 available for you to purchase. All right, the next project is one of Laura Heine's patterns. It's the Teeny Tiny Collage pattern, group number 2. It comes with a fox, with a cow, and with the truck. When I saw the truck, it made me think of Christmas because nowadays the Christmas red truck is so popular. Everybody has it. So I made my truck red. And during COVID, when you're trying to shop for Christmas fabric, and there's no fabric in the stores, it was very hard to find the fabrics I needed to go around the border. Finally, I think in August, I went to some quilt stores and found a couple pieces, and by the end of August, Joann's had gotten a bunch in. So I got a bunch of my fancy little pieces of toys and stuff from Joann's. I stuffed the back of the truck with the toys. Collage is a lot different than machine applique because this, you take your Steam Seam 2, you put it on the back of the fabric and you cut around the edge of the fabric then on the front. You take it off and you stick it on. When you're doing collage, you move them a lot, so you do need the Steam Seam 2 that's got the double sticky on it so you can move it. You don't applique around the piece. The way you finish the project is you do a grid on it. And on this particular one, I did a really small grid because I had little snowflakes and stuff, and I wanted to try to catch each piece of it so it wouldn't come loose. The hanger that I'm using right now does not need to have a sleeve. It unhooks with these little clips. It has little screw holes, and I wasn't sure everybody would want to screw this into their wall. You could probably put a push pin, or you could just use some rickrack like I did and stick it on that way. So again, this is Laura Heine's Teeny Tiny Collage Group 2. This quilt is called Rise Above, designed by Chrisma Horton. She designed this block of the month to be laid back, fun, and approachable. Laid back because it has such big pieces of fabric in it. Approachable because you do simple blocks of regular square blocks, half square triangles, and flying geese. She wanted you to look forward to coming each month to class, so that's why it's a fun, approachable quilt. She designed it to be 96 by 96. I added a gray border to it to make it 110 by 110 for a king-size bed. The quilting was done by my friend Judy Lanza, and I just love the way it turned out. That's all we have for you this month. We'll be back in October with more Sew Fun. Thanks for watching.